Hi everybody. Apologies for the delay. It's been so long since I've done one of these live weather chats that passwords were forgotten and other things were disconnected, but we've got everything working now, at least on my end. If you're having issues seeing or hearing, just let us know in the comments and we will see what we can do. Reason it's been a while since we've done one of these weather chats is that overall weather has been fairly quiet, as it tends to be in the late spring and early summer months. Temperatures are comfortable. We don't have big heat. We don't have big rain chances coming through. We had a couple of showers yesterday. That's about as exciting as it gets in June. But looking ahead to the next couple of days, it's going to feel like the middle of summer, like more intense middle of summer, right? We've been in the 90s several times already in the valley, but now we're talking about our first run of days with temperatures at or above 100 degrees, and we're also talking about north winds and the elevated fire risk that comes along with that. We've already had one red flag warning earlier this season. It was a few weeks ago. Down in the valley. That was the entire valley. This warning area is a little bit more concentrated because the winds themselves are going to be a little bit more concentrated. So we'll talk about where the winds are going to be at their peak, how strong they could be. We know that there are public safety power shutoffs that are planned for parts of the Sacramento Valley, particularly on the west side. That's PG&E. So we've been reporting on that over the last couple of days. We'll talk about the heat, how hot it could be. We don't like talking about planned outages with temperatures being, as hot as they're going to be, so that's big inconvenience. It's uncomfortable for a lot of folks too. So we'll talk temperatures and anything else you want to talk about, at least related to the weather. So I am watching the KCRA Facebook page here and my Facebook page over on my laptop here, so you'll see me kind of bouncing back and forth in between those screens there and the screen over here. But let's start, if I can find it in a timely fashion. Just not feeling very organized today. It happens. Let's start with where we were today, because today was a very nice day for mid-June. These were the highs. Yuba City, something's been going on with the temperature gauge at the airport in Marysville, so we don't have a number for them. Haven't had a number for that spot for the last couple of days. I would imagine it's almost identical to what we saw in Sacramento and Stockton, Modesto. Even Fairfield was at 85 degrees today. That's right on the average for this time of the year. Mid to upper 70s in the foothills. It's a beautiful day. Low 70s in Truckee and South Lake Tahoe. Another nice day up there. Not as windy as what we saw yesterday. That's where we are. Let's talk about where we're headed. I'm going to size this up as well as I can. So this is the color, the X's and O's of the weather, if you will. Where are the areas of high and low pressure? High pressure tends to bring warmth and light winds and very stable air. Low pressure tends to bring rising, unstable air and cooler temperatures. We're kind of in between two of those systems for the next couple of days. So this is tomorrow, Wednesday. Area of low pressure here over Montana. Big sprawling ridge of high pressure over the Pacific. That's what's going to bring our heat later on this week. But in between the two, you can see these lines here and these little flag looking things. We call those wind barbs. They depict the strength and the direction of the wind. So this is a northwest wind at about 30,000 feet or so. So we're looking pretty high up in the atmosphere here. But this is what's going to sweep through Northern California over the next 36 hours or so and kick up our north breeze. This is Saturday, so that low goes away. The winds weaken. We still have a bit of a north flow. And now this high. There's this ridge of high pressure sitting all the way up into British Columbia and extending all the way down through the Central Pacific. That's what's going to be sending the temperatures up into this weekend and likely early next week as well. Still some uncertainty as far as how long this little stretch of heat could last. This is one model. Other models show it ending much sooner. But I would expect the next week to have temperatures at least 10 degrees above normal. Will all of those days be in the triple digits? I don't think so. But they will be quite warm for this time of the year. So I know over the weekend it was nice for us. We had the windows open. We could turn the air conditioning off, save a little money on the electric bill. air conditioners are going to be working a little bit harder as we go through the next few days. So let's go back in for some context, because we are talking triple digits, but this is when we tend to start talking triple digits. For Sacramento at Executive Airport, if you look at the last 30 years, you average the first 100-degree day, you'd average all those dates together. The average first 100-degree day for Sacramento is June 12th. We're forecasting the first 100-degree day this year on June 11th. Pretty darn close. Always a coincidence, of course. We've had 100s arrive as early as, early May in recent history. We've had to, I think it was just a couple of years ago, we waited, it was the last day of June before we got our first 100-degree day, so it can vary quite a bit. But, second, third week of June, yeah, it's time to start talking about temperatures in the triple digits. It's summer. These are the numbers we're expecting for Sacramento. Notice I've got the north breeze highlighted here for Wednesday and Thursday. We're going to look at the wind timing in just a moment. But yeah, that's going to get toasty. We've been in the mid-90s several times already, but Wednesday's high of 97. I believe for Sacramento that would qualify as our warmest day yet. Even if we don't get there Wednesday, we're going to beat it by Thursday with high temperatures somewhere between 100 and 105 degrees for a few days. But the numbers that you see at the top of the screen, those are the record highs for the date. So for Sacramento, it's going to be hot, but we're not talking about record heat. But the thing is, with these 100-degree days, well, that means temperatures are likely close to 90 degrees as early as, noon in some spots. If you're further away from the delta, those 90s may hit by 11:30. So our window of time where things are a little bit more comfortable, if you don't like the 90s and 100s, I know some people are very comfortable in that kind of weather. I'm not one of those people. But our window of more comfortable weather gets smaller and smaller when we get into days like this. So this is why we make these KCRA3 weather impact days, right? We always think, okay, what is the impact? Well, if you're a runner, a cyclist, if you work outside, this is the kind of weather that is going to have an impact on you and how you're feeling, how you should prepare. If you have flexibility later this week and this weekend, try to do things in the morning rather than in the afternoon. If you're making plans for something to do this weekend, I know I normally love being outside, but I'm looking at movie theater times. I'm looking for things to do in the air conditioning, at least until, we start getting used to this. Because we know by July and August, 100, 101, it's still not the most comfortable, but it's something that we will have done many times over by that point. So again, I think at least through Saturday, we're talking temperatures around triple digits. Temperatures should back down a little bit this weekend. I don't see a big drop off in temperatures probably for about a week or so. By the end of next week, we could be seeing temperatures back down into the mid to upper 80s. All right. All right, so where do we want to go from here? Tell you what, let's go over the winds. Red flag warning is going to go into effect at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. But remember, it's only for the Sacramento Valley, and Sacramento County is not included in this red flag warning, but one thing I've been saying throughout the day today, even if you're not included in that warning and you live in the valley, it's still going to be very dry. The grasses are dried out, and we will have enough of a breeze that if a grass fire starts, it could spread quickly. We may not be talking about what we call critical fire weather conditions, but the breeze will be a factor. So here are the winds, and I know I've gotten a couple questions from people in Roseville, some concerned about the winds on the east side of the valley. I've heard from some people into the delta. So if you have been wondering about wind conditions for your town or your city, just pay attention here over the next couple of minutes. I'm going to walk you through what Futurecast has been showing us. So it's got the onshore breeze tonight. By the time we get to Wednesday morning, this is 9:30, and this is classic for a north breeze pattern. The winds start to pick up on the north end of the valley, up into Tehama County, Butte County, parts of Glenn County. And then as we go through the day, we see the breeze expand across the valley. Now the numbers that you're seeing, they're forecast wind gusts. Gusts of 15 to 20 miles per hour. You'll notice it. It'll shake the leaves in the trees a little bit. but it's not going to cause big problems. Not on its own, anyway. Look what happens overnight. This is also just a very classic signature of a north wind pattern. We almost always see the north breeze stronger on the west side of the valley overnight compared to during the daytime hours. And part of that is just, I kind of picture it in my head, almost like the atmosphere sort of exhaling at the end of the day, as the air that warmed during the day sinks and gets closer to the ground as it compresses. The winds here on the west side of the valley start to speed up. And then as the sun comes up on Thursday, the air at the surface starts to lift a little bit, so we decrease the pressure at the ground, and that breeze starts to back off just a little bit. So again, I think of it kind of like inhaling and exhaling, in a matter of speaking, I suppose. But the point being, Wednesday night into Thursday morning, this is when the winds are going to be at their strongest. And notice again, it's going to be the west side of the Sacramento Valley. Gusts up to 40 miles per hour in parts of Colusa, Glenn, Tehama, Yolo, and Solano counties. That could be enough for some minor issues. If it's garbage night, that trash can may be going down the street a little bit. And of course, the obvious PG&E feeling is though the winds are strong enough that they're concerned about their infrastructure equipment. They're concerned about not starting a fire, so they're opting to turn the power off in some communities in these areas, and that's why the focus is the wind. Not going to get too deep into PSPSs. I know there's a lot of strong feelings about them, but hopefully people in those communities that are going to be effective have enough of a heads up that they can prepare ahead of time and be as comfortable and cost effective as possible. Elena's asking, when is the best time to open the air conditioning? I guess that depends on what your preferences are. I keep my house cool, I think cooler than most people would. And we were in the 80s today, so lots of people, especially this morning, probably left the AC off. I think tomorrow air conditioning is going to be needed by a lot more people in the valley. Temperatures will be going back into the mid-90s, and then we're talking triple digits for at least a few days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, close to it on Sunday as well. So this weekend, the air conditioners will be running full steam, I think, in a lot of places. Let's refresh the comments over here. All right, so we've been talking about the winds. By the time we get into Thursday afternoon, yeah, there may be one little last kind of burst of that north breeze, maybe some occasional gusts to 20 miles an hour in the valley. But then by the time we get to Friday, kind of shift back into a little bit of an onshore breeze. That'll be interesting to see how that plays with temperatures. Even if we do get that onshore breeze, there's not going to be much cool air at the coast. This is maybe just enough of a delta breeze to keep Fairfield in the mid-90s instead of in the 100s, while Sacramento, Stockton, Modesto, Roseville, Marysville, Colusa, we're all talking triple digits as we go into this weekend. So there's the red flag warning. Again, this is issued by the National Weather Service. They put this up yesterday. It doesn't go into effect until late Wednesday morning. Red flag warning doesn't mean we're going to get a fire. What it means is that if a fire were to start, weather conditions would force that fire to grow very quickly. So again, the emphasis here is just to be careful. Things you want to avoid. Don't want to do any outdoor burning. In fact, we were talking earlier today, a lot of counties in the valley and into the foothills have paused burning permits for the next few days because of the weather conditions. So please don't burn anything outdoors. If you have tall grasses or weeds that need to be mowed, today was the day to do it. Tomorrow and Thursday or not. Any kind of yard work with metal blades, metal gears. Don't want to be using that. All it takes is hitting a small rock or a pebble with those metal gears. You get a spark. That spark goes into the grass, and the wind carries it away very quickly. Don't want to be parking on dry grass. Even though the engine's off, it's still got a lot of heat. And that residual heat, especially if you start the car back up, that can easily start a fire on some of those dry grasses. And if you're going to be hauling anything, we had Live Copter 3 up over Lake Berryessa earlier today. If you're dragging the boat anywhere, especially this weekend, double check and make sure that nothing is going to drag on the ground. Thinking about the chains that you use to connect the trailer, if those drag on the ground, you get an instant spark, and if that spark flows into the grass next door or next to the road, we get fires that start very easily that way too. Of course, those aren't the only ways that accidental fires start, but point being, Wednesday and Thursday, be as careful as possible, although we are now at the point in the season where, in the valley in particular, the grasses are dry enough to burn, whether we've got wind, whether we've got triple-digit temperatures, whether we've got temperatures in the 80s. Actually, our red flag warning earlier this season, that was when temperatures were in the 80s. So, fire risk is independent of temperature. Always important to keep that in mind, especially as we get into the fall and the air starts to cool and things start to get more comfortable. That's when the fuels are at their driest and actually at their most likely to burn. So this is our fire threat index. It's something that we like to use, whether we have a red flag warning or not. Someone on the weather team is updating this once, if not twice a day. What we're doing is looking at fuel moisture, we're looking at the strength of the winds, we're looking at humidity. We're seeing how all those factors combined to add up to a fire risk for the valley. So today, with the winds being relatively light most of the day and the humidity being in a comfortable range for this time of the year, yeah, our fire potential is elevated because the grasses are dry, but the risk for anything explosive, not a concern. Watch how that changes Wednesday. As the winds increase, the humidity decreases, the risk for fire goes up. As we go into Thursday, the wind backs off for a lot of places during the day on Thursday, but the air really dries out, so that keeps the fire risk elevated. And then even into Friday, the wind is going to be a lot lighter on Friday, but the air stays very dry and very hot. So we see that fire risk is kind of, I used the phrase ever present earlier today. It's June. Fire season is here for the valley. It's going to stay until September or October. More likely October, right? We need several rounds of rain to wet the grasses and to get them to come out of their dormancy. For the foothills, we're just kind of starting to get into fire season. For our forest fires in the Sierra, that hopefully is still, maybe about a month away, but with, of course, our lack of a snowpack or our snowpack that melted off so early this season, well, that means the fuels are going to dry out that much earlier, and the potential for those fires is going to arrive earlier as well. So yeah, 'tis the season. It's part of life in Northern California, whether we have a wet winter or a dry winter. Fire season is always going to come around. All right. We'll end it here on the 7-day forecast. And a friendly reminder that you can check this anytime at kcra.com or on the KCRA app. We update the forecast there multiple times a day as we get new data coming in. We've also got more detailed information on what to expect over the next few days with our weather impact days. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, they're all KCRA 3 weather impact days. Initially, it's because of that north breeze and the elevated fire risk, but then it's just because of the triple-digit temperatures. I know sometimes it feels kind of silly to see an impact day for a 100-degree day and not one for a 98-degree day, but we have to set the bar somewhere, right? So our bar is anything at and above 100. We're going to make that an impact day. But still, Monday and Tuesday of next week, they're going to be very warm days. They're going to be days where the morning is going to be much more comfortable for doing anything outside compared to what we'll see in the morning or in the afternoon. Lamont says, I don't like it. I see power outages. Yeah, power shutoffs when it's it's 80 degrees is one thing. Power shutoffs when it's going to be in the triple digits. That's another. So again, I said this earlier, but hopefully, with enough advance notice, people can make some plans and preparations and stay as comfortable as they can for those couple of days. It's not fun. I get it. All right. Well, I'm going to get ready for our 10 o'clock newscast. Thank you for joining me for this little weather chat. I think we may do one again on Thursday. We'll see how things are going as we get a little bit closer. I keep saying this is it's like a New Year's resolution gone wrong. I want to try and do these more frequently. But let's plan on Thursday for now. I'll put up another post when I'm planning to jump on here. Of course, always ask your questions. If you're jumping on late, you're watching this after we're done live here, put your question in the comments. I will do my best to go back through and check them out. All right, have a good night. I'm going to be, join me on My 58 at 10 o'clock, and then, whoops, we'll see you on KCRA 3 News tonight at 11. See you then.